Howdy folks, it's Roby here. Question, are your thoughts your own, or are you running on a script written by someone else? We are here to dismantle the lies of the therapeutic state, expose the mechanics of control, and explore the truths that are not common knowledge. It's time to stop being a product of your environment and start being the architect of it. Welcome to the Manufactured Mind. Today's episode, from manufactured fragility to the Stoic fortress, how mass psychological programming is being conducted and how to weaponize your mind against the system. Without further ado, let's dive right on in. So, let's start with desensitization. And how this happens, folks, is through repeated exposure, normalization through entertainment, and psychological buffering. But let's break these down. So, repeated exposure. The more we see extreme scenarios in fiction, the less emotionally reactive we become when reality mirrors them. And I touched on this a little bit in my last episode, the live stream I did last week. But that was kind of off the top of my head, and I put something together here with more information and examples that I'm going to present to y'all today. Normalization through entertainment. For example, zombies became a cultural meme, funny, thrilling, even trendy. So, when real-world addiction crises create zombie-like symptoms, the imagery feels less alarming. And then psychological buffering. Media often frames chaos as survivable or even heroic, which can subconsciously prepare people to accept harsh realities. And so why this may feel intentional? Well, Big Pharma's role in the opioid epidemic is well documented. Aggressive marketing downplaying risks and profit-driven decisions. And when combined with cultural narratives that echo decay and loss of control, it feels like a coordinated conditioning effort, even if it's emergent rather than planned. And so the zombie narrative zombie narrative as cultural mirrors, like I said, zombie films like the shows Walking Dead, World War Z, etc. often symbolize loss of control and dehumanization. So loss of control would mean societies collapsing under forces they cannot contain. And dehumanization, people reduced to primal states, mirroring fears of addiction, stripping away identity. Is it not? And then we have contagion and decay. Themes of infection parallel anxieties about epidemics, whether viral or chemical, and pandemics, such as COVID-19. And why does this feel let me back up. So the addiction crisis connection. The opioid epidemic visually echoes zombie tropes. Hunched bodies, vacant stares, societal breakdown. Media didn't create the crisis, but it shaped how we emotionally process it. Instead of outrage, many react with resignation because the imagery feels familiar. And there's a ton of underlying social anxiety here. You know, the zombie stories thrive during times of uncertainty. So economic collapse fears, pandemic fears, loss of autonomy to tech or addiction. They act as cultural coping mechanisms, but also condition us to accept decay as inevitable. But let me Let me give you a rundown on some opioid addiction history here. So in the 1800s, morphine was widely used for pain relief, especially during and after wars. Many patients, particularly women, became dependent because addiction risks weren't understood. In 1898, Bayer introduced heroin as a safe alternative to morphine and even marketed as a cough suppressant and treatment for morphine addiction. And then in the early 1900s, addiction rates soared, leading to the first U.S. drug regulations, Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, 1914. The pattern: each time a new opioid was introduced, it was marketed as less addictive, yet dependency persisted. This cycle continued with oxycodone, fentanyl, methadone, and others. And it still persists with methadone. As somebody being in methadone treatment, unfortunately, as you all know, if you are somebody who listens to my podcast regularly, you will know that I am in methadone treatment, and I've been tapering down from, I was at 150 milligrams last year, I'm down to 37 milligrams now. It's been a process, folks. I got off the illicit drug use, and I guess you could say the methadone helped me there to a degree. It just kind of substituted. I mean, dude, the shit's fucking heroin, man. It's liquid heroin. It's liquid heroin. It is no fucking different. Except they're making a shit ton of money off of the methadone. Like $6.5 million a year per fucking clinic. I think the statistics read $100 they make per person a day, if I recall correctly. That's fucking nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But the methadone has been absolutely destructive to me and my body, and I am fighting with everything in me to get off of this shit. And I will be off of it soon enough. I'm dropping 3 milligrams every couple of weeks. The lower I get, though, the lower I have to start decreasing. So I'm at 37 milligrams now. I was decreasing 4 milligrams every 2 to 3 weeks. Now I'm decreasing 3 milligrams every 2 to 3 weeks. Once I get to 20 milligrams, I think I'm going to have to drop down to 1 milligram every 2 to 3 weeks, unfortunately. I'm going to try to go to 10 milligrams before I hit the 1 milligram every 2 weeks, but we'll see how that goes. But it's a money pit, man. It's a profitable business model that keeps people hooked. So why this matters? This highlights a consistent pattern of pharmaceutical marketing minimizing risks, which fuels distrust today. It's not a new phenomenon. It's been happening for over a century. People just have been manufactured to see this shit as it's okay because it's approved by the FDA. Which means absolutely nothing, by the way. That's just another way to control the narrative. To control people and put fear into people. Oh, it's not approved by the FDA. Oh, I can't take that. God knows what's in that. God knows what's in what the hell they're giving to you that says it's approved by the FDA. Think about that one. It's like, seriously. So, some opioid crisis origins. The widespread present-day opioid epidemic began in the 1990s. They claim when certain pharmaceutical companies aggressively marketed prescription opioids as safe and non-addictive. But as you've heard, it's been going on, I think, for over a century. This led to overprescription, dependency, and eventually illicit drug use when prescriptions were restricted. However, in my eyes, it started in the late 1800s with morphine use, as I mentioned earlier. And so we have today's zombified drugs, fentanyl and xylazine. Fentanyl is a synthetic opiate, far more potent than heroin or morphine, and has been a major driver of overdose deaths. And guess where fentanyl came from? The pharmaceutical companies. Started out in patches. Xylazine, a veterinary sedative, is now being mixed with street drugs, causing severe health issues and the zombie-like symptoms that I described. Wake up, folks. And so, the media influence, of course, while zombie-themed entertainment like The Walking Dead was hugely popular, there's no verified evidence that it was part of a coordinated plan to prepare society for addiction crisis. However, I believe otherwise. My observation touches on a real psychological phenomenon, folks. Cultural narratives often mirror societal fears, and sometimes they seem eerily predictive. And that's why it feels like a fucking psyop. The overlap between media themes and real-world crisis can feel intentional because of pattern recognition. We connect dots between unrelated events. Corporate influence. Pharma companies have historically prioritized profit over safety, which fuels the distrust. So I'm going to go through some examples here. Repetition and familiarity. So, modern. AI assistance in ads, pandemic scenarios in streaming shows. Historical. Cigarette ads in films, 1930s to 50s, repeatedly showed smoking as glamorous. Effect. Both eras used repeated exposure to normalize behaviors or technologies. Okay, number 2, narrative framing. Modern. AI framed as helpful. Lockdowns portrayed as heroic in pandemic dramas. Historical. World War II propaganda framed women working in factories as patriotic. Rosie the Riveteer. Effect. Positive framing turns disruptive changes into societal desirable actions. Emotional conditioning. Modern. Fear-driven pandemic thrillers and empathetic AI stories. Historical. Cold War films evoked fear of nuclear threats, justifying military buildup. And the effect, emotional engagement, bypasses rational skepticism in both cases. Then we have gamification and immersion. Games like The Division simulate pandemics, making crisis management feel strategic and familiar. Historical. Board games and war-themed toys during World War II normalized militarization for children. The effect, interactive play makes extreme scenarios feel acceptable. Then we have authority and expert endorsement. Modern day. Tech CEOs and scientists portrayed as visionaries in media. Historical. Government-backed newsreels during World War II featured generals and leaders endorsing war efforts. Effect. Authority figures legitimize controversial ideas across eras. 6. Cultural saturation. Modern day. AI and pandemic themes dominate movies, ads, social media. Think of iRobot. Historical. Space race propaganda saturated magazines. cartoons, and TV in the 1960s. Effect: multi-platform messaging creates an environment where alternative narratives feel fringe. And then 7, predictive storytelling. Modern day. Contagion, anticipated pandemic protocols. Black Mirror explores AI ethics. Historical. Sci-fi in the 1950s predicted space travel, priming public for NASA programs. Effect: fiction mirrors scientific forecast, making future events feel inevitable. And so the key insight here is that both historical and modern media use psychological levers of familiarity, authority, emotional engagement to prepare societies for change. The difference today is speed and reach. Digital platforms amplify conditioning globally in real time. Okay, so moving on to the Stoic fortress, how to weaponize your mind against the system. So the core question here, why does it feel like the world is getting safer? Seatbelts, warning labels, HR departments, safe spaces, yet anxiety, depression, and suicide are all at all-time highs. The thesis: this is not an accident. It is a feature of the system. A fragile population is a profitable population. If you are emotionally fragile, you need a product, a pill, or a politician to save you. If you are stoic and self-reliant, you are a bad customer. So the goal. Today we're going to dismantle the cult of safety and replace it with the Stoic fortress. We aren't just talking about resilience, we're talking about becoming anti-fragile. So segment 1 of this section, the diagnosis. The 3 great untruths, and this is vital intel. I want to reference the work of Dr. Jonathan Haidt with The Coddling of the American Mind. Society now teaches 3 lies that destroy mental health. The lie of fragility. And the coddling of the American Mind is a video, folks, by Jonathan Haidt that I would highly recommend you watching. So the lie of fragility. What doesn't kill you makes you weaker. Truth. Humans are anti-fragile. We need stress to grow like muscles. The lie of emotional reasoning. Always trust your feelings. Truth. Feelings are often wrong. If you feel unsafe when hearing a different opinion, that is a cognitive distortion, not a threat. The lie of us versus them. Life is a battle between good people and evil people. Truth. This tribalism makes you easy to manipulate by media psyops. The concept of safetyism. So, safetyism. Safety has crept from physical safety, like don't touch a hot stove, to emotional safety. Don't hear a word that upsets you. The result, by protecting people from discomfort, we have created a generation with no immune system for life. Small stressors now cause massive breakdowns. This is weaponized fragility. Weakness used as a status symbol and a control mechanism. Segment 2, the systemic critique. This is the manufactured part. The therapeutic state. Thomas Saz. I hope I didn't butcher his last name. Concept. The government and corporations have replaced the priest with the therapist. Instead of sin, we have sickness. The trap. If your natural reaction to a sick society, anxiety, anger, is labeled a disorder, then the solution is always external. Always external. A pill rather than internal change. Your life, your mindset. A vital stat here. In many years, Big Pharma spends more on marketing, like TV ads, lobbying doctors, which means telling the doctors what to sell the patient, than on research and development. They spend more money on TV ads and lobbying doctors than on research and development, folks. They are not in the business of cures. They are in the business of customers. The economics of fragility. Consumerism. A Stoic who is content with what they have does not buy things to fill a void. A fragile person who feels empty or anxious is the perfect consumer. And then we have political control. A fearful population begs for authority. If you believe words are violent, you will vote for censorship. If you believe you are a victim, you will vote for a savior. The psyop here. The media cycle keeps your cortisol high with fear, so your prefrontal cortex, your logic, shuts down. This is biologically engineered compliance, folks. Manufacturing minds, baby. That's what they're doing. The antidote. Segment 3, the antidote. Building the Stoic fortress, folks. How to reprogram your mind. Resilience versus anti-fragility. Resilience. Resisting the shock and staying the same. Like a rock. Like a rock. Anti-fragility. Nassim Taleb. Getting better because of the shock. Like the Hydra. Cut off one head, 2 grow back. The application. Don't just survive addiction or trauma. Use it. The trauma gave you data, depth, and darkness that normal people don't have. That is your weapon. That is my weapon. That is what I'm using right here, right now. The Inner Citadel. Marcus Aurelius. The dichotomy of control. You cannot control the pharmaceutical industry, the government, or what people say about you. You can control, however, your judgment of it. And Marcus Aurelius came up with the inner citadel metaphor. So, the technique, when you feel offended or anxious, pause. Ask, is this within my control? If no, discard it. If yes, act. Amor fati, love or fate. Don't just accept your past struggles, like addiction and trauma. Love them. They are the fuel that built the fortress. The obstacle is the way. And so moving on to segment 4, the actionable protocol, or the rebellion. Voluntary discomfort. Take cold showers, which I highly encourage that, actually. I do this every morning. I plunge myself into an extremely cold shower, and then I put it on hot water, and then I put it back on cold, and then I put it back on hot. It does something to you. I don't know. It feels good, though. But take cold showers. Fast. Fasting is good. It causes discomfort, but it's good. Exercise to failure. Remind your brain that you can handle pain. This kills fragility. The media fast. Cut the cord to the outrage machine. If you are angry about something you can't change, you are being farmed for engagement by the media. Fast from the media. Fast from technology. Fast from the fucking screen, folks. Audit your language. Stop using victim language. This triggered me. I can't deal. Blah, blah, blah. Use active language like, I dislike this, but I can handle it. Or, I am choosing to respond this way. I am choosing to. You gotta have accountability, folks. And so, my closing thought on this is they want us fragile. Because fragile people are obedient. Fragile people don't think. They want you anxious because anxious people are profitable. The most rebellious thing you can do in a sick society is be unconquerable. Build the fucking fortress, folks. Build the fortress. The Stoic fortress within you awaits to be awoken. Find it, awaken it, utilize it. And again, I highly encourage you to go and watch the YouTube video, The Coddling of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt, because it provides the statistical and sociological vital info regarding the rise of safetyism and fragility on campuses, which serves as the perfect evidence for my systemic critique segment. And with that being said, I'm going to end it here today, folks. I know this was kind of a short episode again, but hey, it's vital information, it's useful, and it's consumable. And so I highly encourage you to maybe listen to this twice, and definitely go check out that video, The Coddling of the American Mind, by Jonathan Haidt. And that's Haidt, H-A-I-D as in dog, T. Haidt, H-A-I-D-T, Jonathan Haidt. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my podcast on Podbean, on Spotify. The YouTube channel is also there. I'm still working on putting that together, as in getting all my episodes converted to videos, and put them on there. But there are a few on there. So, please, the most sincere, free thing that you can do is to like, follow, and subscribe to my podcast on Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. And I also have a webpage that you can find me at themanufacturedmind.com. And there's a direct link there to my Podbean podcast page if you hit the click here button. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and until next week, folks, it's Roby. Stay safe, chin up, chest out, walk tall, stay frosty, and semper fidelis. This is The Manufactured Mind. Out.